So last August, I released a video where I made a special Word Bears Terminator Lord for my friend Holy Fire Them, and that was part of a mini swap we did together. And in return, they made me a Lord Exultant. Now, we kind of worked on the lore of this Lord Exultant together based on the bash they made, and if you can tell here, there's some extra arms and stuff coming out with this Eldar weaponry. So the lore we decided on was that this person would be part of my subsect of my warband, the Bacchanalia, who, one of the things they do is devour the corpses of women to try and gain their femininity. So in this one, we had an example, what if they devoured Eldar to kind of gain their femininity / androgenity? So I thought, what if I pushed that all the way to the extreme and made a demon prince who has just eaten so many Eldar women that they're kind of an amalgam. And I have just the thing to do it. That's right, if you know what's in the Combat Patrol Premium box set number 2, it is a demon prince and a bunch of howling banshees. So I'm going to be using this box to make my Emperor's Children demon prince. So I've been building the Demon Prince to instructions, and I'm reaching the part where I want to make my first conversion. I don't want this to look too much like a normal Savage Demon Prince, so what I'm going to do is take this cape from the Infernal and Rapturous and make this the loincloth. Now, of course, this is going more forward, while the other one's going more back, so the position now is going to be much more of like a jumping back position, which I think fits the agility of the EC and also the Howling Banshees. So that's what that looks like, all glued on. But now I need a little belt buckle. I was thinking maybe Sigvald's shield, but it's way too big. But I have this little Slaanesh symbol from Ogroid Theridons. I pillaged a box. Someone let out or put out a bunch of excess, all the extra bits from the kit just for taking, so I pillaged those. So, yeah, that'll be really good as a nice Slaanesh belt buckle to help cover up that seam. The belt buckle ended up being too big to actually fit flushly, so I did something even more horrific and made our first real Howling Banshee conversion, which is I took the helmetless head and made that the belt buckle. It's screaming eternally, and it sure is alive. I attached the tail as per instruction, other than one change, which is I pinned a Dina neck claw to the end, just to make it a little more Slaanesh-y. I also accidentally pinned through here, but it'll be on the bottom, so it might be it'll be hard to see anyway. So this will just help it, add a little bit more Slaanesh flair. As for these two, gaps on the side where skulls are supposed to hang, I'm still trying to figure out. I think there'll be some Howling Banshee bits there, though. So, it was taking a while, so I got it on the base using an old Wraith Lord head, just to kind of work it in better than the Tactical Rock. As well as, I covered up those gaps, as I mentioned, with some Banshee bits. So we got a hand here, we got a gun here. Here, we've got a belly button and cloth. So that's going to be sculpted more in. And then here we've got the torso, basically like a tiny little chest on her chest. And that's going to be sculpted down with green stuff down this way to make it look like it's bursting out of her instead of just, or not bursting, but fused into her. Yeah, I'm going to ignore the cables. And then work on the arms. I already have an idea for the head, but we're not quite there yet, so yeah, I'm really liking how she's coming along. She's pretty horrific. I decided to attach the fantasy arms because I like the sleek look, but while doing so, I noticed something I wanted to talk about, which is that I had a tangent between this and this arm. So tangents are a thing in traditional art where you have two lines that become infinitely close to each other, like in math, and it kind of muddies up the detail and doesn't look good because there's not enough separation. Now, of course, when you're kitbashing, using 3D parts, so the tangent comes in with the profile. So this was lined up higher behind this arm, and it ruined the profile with that tangent. So I pushed it further down a few times until it worked out. And I just thought that was a really interesting thing that I hadn't encountered before, but I thought was really nice to kind of demonstrate, like how the profile tangents are very important while kitbashing. For example, now currently I'm trying to rotate it a bit more so you can get the fingers in the profile like that. Yeah. And then this one I want to be a bit more forward. But yeah. So I built a Howling Banshee up till this point to go on this shoulder, I think. But I don't know. I really like this shoulder pad, which goes here. Hold on. Goes there. But I wanted to replace the horn with the Howling Banshee, and I'm wondering now if maybe putting one on each shoulder might be a little too much, which is funny, saying it's Emperor's Children. I feel like it might be better if she's just coming out like this, right? And looking, yeah, I like that more, actually. So I'll figure out what to do with this shoulder. I might keep it bare and just cover up that strap. So we're gonna glue this in. And this actually fits kind of perfectly. What I love about Chaos Bits is that they have so many, like, open gaps for bullshit that you can just kind of, like, plug stuff in, you know? Like that. So I'm gonna let her dry, and then I'm gonna attach her arms. So this is how it's looking now with her swords. Really happy with how that came out. So now we gotta work on this sword. Now, of course, it comes with a sword, but this sword's a little too, I don't know, brutal? But I also, as you already saw, have this kit. So I'm gonna do a little blade swap to make it look more, you know, one, has more Aeldari corruption, and two, make it look a bit more like sleek Emperor's Children-y. So to do that, I'm just gonna cut it probably right here. And then also right here. Gonna cut around the skull. I'm actually gonna use the clippers for this. Now something like this is the size I usually wouldn't pin, but because it's so thin, I think I'm gonna pin it. I also want to put something else here to make it kind of mesh a little better. There we go, this one's perfect size. Bend in place, clip it at the right length. Put a little bit of glue on the end of the, or not on the end, all over the thing, and then you just push it down. So back to the demon. My idea for this shoulder pad is I have this. Okay, it's a bit too small. Plus I use this on my winged demon prince. It's the Terminator shoulder pads from the Custodian. So those won't work. So I'm just going to fill this gap in with green stuff once I pull out the green stuff, I think. Which leads us to the head, which I've had a very good idea for. This person, now monster, has devoured countless Eldar and women to become more and more feminine, yet in doing so has actually damned themselves to a life of being a complete monstrosity. I'm gonna give it a big theme neck. In a chance to become more feminine, it became even less human entirely. Most people don't get what they want in the Grimdark universe. Yes, I'm gonna pin that in as well, and then once the green stuff, I'll green stuff around the gap. So, again, for pinning. The thing with pinning is if you want to be really precise, you can be, but you can actually kind of manipulate the paperclip around. So if it doesn't quite line up, fine, because you can manipulate it until the gap lines up. Yep. Oh, that's good. So this will use a lot of green stuff, and I'll green stuff it to look like it's coming from the big neck and the neck of the chest on the stomach here at the same time. So that'll be harder to green stuff with the head there, but also it would be impossible to green stuff there. Anyway, look at this profile. Now that's sick. The sword going with the head. You might be like, oh, that's a profile tangent, like I was talking about earlier, but if you turn it truly sideways, it's slightly ahead. And then from the front, it's sick. My camera's just slightly angled. Like, look at that. That's sick. It's gonna be a lot of green stuffing, but it's much more, like, duelist blade. So, I just now need to find a way to attach it, because I don't want to use another one of these. I'd much rather attach it in more cleaner. And I'm thinking, do I want to put an armor piece, or do I want to green stuff that up to make it clean? Unless I gave it Sigvald's shield, kind of like a parrying buckler. That could be a good idea. I could also put that on this side. Nah, it's too finesse. Let's see. If this is here, let me tack this in. Okay, so this is the sword like this. We then put this. That's kind of cool. It's not too busy from the front. I'm scared it's a little busy back here with the shoulder pad, but also that's not too weird for duelists to have like really heavily armored one side and not be that armored on the other, because this is their sword arm. This is what's going for it. It gives a real duelist look. I actually love that idea. Same for the back. There are these gaps that are filled with either wings or a trophy rack or the backpack. I'm just going to green stuff those up to make them look a little cleaner, I think. Because I don't want him to be too... I don't want them to be too busy to kind of ruin the main attraction, which is these. I might put more arms. That's the one thing, is I might put some more arms coming out of it. But yeah, I like this idea, so I'm going to go put that on. So I've done all the green stuffing for... Well, not all the green stuffing. I've done a decent bit of green stuffing on the model, filling in gaps, as well as blending in parts like the head and the other banshee bits, as well as I need to do more to cover up gaps like straps, the gaps in the back, and a few other, like, just clean up, you know, really just helping with the sculpting. So I get all of that done. Here, I give her a boob, because it's a very Slaaneshi demon. Iconography to have, like, one boob and the other being, like, cut off or metal or something like that based on the Amazonians. So I sculpt that on, and I leave the gash in it a little more slash shaped rather than a circle or putting in its own nipple, because I put in a ball bearing later, but it's actually inspired on the old Forge World Greater Demon of Slaanesh that I have, because its variable nipples have that same shape and kind of look like eyeballs. So there's been a few more changes. I added this little eagle head I was talking about earlier here, but mainly I switched out the head. I wanted something that was a little more monstrous. While the long noodle head was very, like, I don't know, kind of funny. I think this one's more shows that this is like something that is eating and devouring, which was maybe less clear before, but like now you can tell, like, I even had it kind of facing down, so it's looking down at like more elves. I gave it a nipple by adding a thing here. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's going to be an eyeball nipple. I haven't quite figured it out. I kind of wish I made this out of Milla stuff so I could smooth the textures out a bit more, but oh well. I've also, since looking at the kit, so instructions in the box only show the undivided demon prints, so I didn't know that it actually already comes with a claw tail, and I kind of fucked it up. So this one's a little small, but I think that just gives it another little bit of uniqueness. I also added in a hand. I don't remember if I've done that earlier. I showed that off already, but I added in some cork to help give support to everything, as well as make it blend in with the rest of my list. But yeah, that's pretty much it. He's all ready. So to start, we need to give them the pink armor that the Emperor's children have. And to start this, I go for a much deeper, kind of more magenta base coat, because I want those nice shadows, as well as a little bit more richness. which actually ends up kind of not being there in the end, but I really like how it turns out. After doing a few coats of that base coat to get it nice and covered, I switch directly to a much brighter pink, my favorite, like, highlight pink I use for my Emperor's Children army, which is Foundry's Nipple Pink. It's a very thin paint, so I actually didn't expect it to kind of be as thin as it was, but I actually really end up liking the result as well. It has a nice, like, pearlescent vibe rather than just a pink vibe, which I think feels very magical and Emperor's Children-y. So, using the nipple pink and some ice yellow, I got a really nice pearlescent armor that I'm really happy with. I'm going to add the rose gold highlight that all of my Emperor's Children have to their armor. And then I'm thinking maybe purple for this cloak and a kind of a dark, maybe maroon, maybe purplish skin, just so that the bits of canon like Wraithbone and red coloring for the Howling Banshees really stands out. So I'm going to get on to the color or the metals, and then we'll get back to everything else. So all the armor is done. Got that nice rose gold. We've got the purple. I put a little bit of red here and the gems here. Some silver on the weapon and the claws, as well as the studs right here. But yeah, that's the armor and weapons all done. So next is the skin. I was actually I wasn't quite sure, so I was talking to my dad about it, and he suggested a red, like a dragon. I think I'm going to push it a bit more maroon, but maybe like a deep red, like a burnt red in the shadows, up to kind of a, like, magenta color in the highlights, or maybe better than magenta, like a wine stain. So I'm going to work on that. First starting, of course, with a burnt red, which is one of my favorite colors by Procurl. So yeah, I'm going to get that all over. And then, of course, there's going to be a pink tongue, and I'm thinking maybe a much more, like, kind of brighter magenta, or even a black for the sail, like the fin. What is that called? The sail, right? And then, of course, for all of the claws and stuff, I'm thinking kind of like a white, but, like, dirty, of course, but something that stands out as well that kind of matches the Wraithbone, because I'm going to paint these as canon as I can with the Wraithbone and the red hair. So yeah, let's get on it. So I've done a lot of painting on this to the point where I don't remember where I last left off. I don't know if I showed you guys the skin yet. So this is the skin, nice kind of like reddish maroon purple. I didn't want it too red. It looks more red on camera than it is. It's pretty purple in person because I didn't want it to look too much like corn. But that kind of, it's got a nice maroon colored skin. We've got all these claws and spikes, which are going to get a wash. What else did I do? I changed the grip here to be purple, but I want to give that a wash. Eyes, tongue. I put a poll on Instagram for what color the fin should be, and the winner was dark sea green. So we're going to do that. But first, let's put, while I'm thinking about it, a wash on those handles and a bone wash on, or bone contrast. Pallid bone is my favorite on all the claws and whatnot. Also, I know a lot of the painting's been done off camera. I'm way more productive that way, but if you guys want to see the painting, please let me know down in the comments below. I definitely don't want to be doing, like, videos that people don't want to watch because I'm skipping too much. But if you guys just care about the final result and are fine with me kind of skipping around certain kitbashing and painting sections, I'm going to wipe off just the tips of it. I want the tips to be nice and bright still. Part of the reason I'm darkening down everything, like all the teeth and claws so much, is because I want that really, like, bright Wraithbone, the Banshees, to be, like, the highest point, and I don't want it to be, like, confused with the horns, or the teeth, or the claws, or the spikes, because they're going to be similar. But once this is dry, I am going to highlight it up with a nice bright, just to give it some sharp edges, but it won't, as a whole, be as bright. Okay, so I've just realized there's a bit of belt here that I never painted, so I'm going to go and cover that up with some rose gold, which, by the way, for my rose gold I use everywhere, I use Screaming Bell. It's probably my favorite Citadel color. I actually think the Citadel metallics are really good, even if their other colors are not as good as some others. Okay. We also have all the leather straps, and I think I'm going to use some Tusk Warfare for that, because I want them to kind of fit the same, like, warm but desaturated color scheme, and stand out, but again, not be too out of place. So there's like a leather strap on this arm, where a shoulder pad previously would be. Okay, time to put the highlights on the claws and stuff. I'm using Wraithbone. This is just going to be like edge highlighting, and maybe if there's some flatter panels. Whoop! By the way, in the recording, I figured out that the problem with the colors not turning out right was the lighting, so I was able to switch my light to a more blue light, which helps it look a little more accurate to real life, but also makes it look a little colder. Now to get that dark sea green fin, I'm going to be using some Pro Curl Jade and kind of blending it up to moot green at the very edge. I have the footage for making all of the Wraithbone and the elf skin and their hair, but it's just so long, so I'm just going to quickly kind of go over what I did with some background cutting around. I first base coated all of the Wraithbone with a brown before then using a Wraithbone and a kind of dry brushing method. This helps like get a nice dirty but also like bright look, so it definitely looks like it's weathered, but it stands out. For the skin, I just used some pale flesh and some flesh wash, and then I highlighted it with some more pale flesh. Pretty simple. And then for the red hair, I start with a dark red and then slowly push it more and more orange. The same is true for the green. This one's really simple. I just use some, if I remember, French Gun Olive Green from Foundry as the base, and I highlight it a little bit. I don't even remember what. It may have been with Auric Flesh, and then I just do the little white strips. So this is on the loincloth and all the tassels, as well as the hairband of the top elf. So the painting is basically all done. We have like the green with the stripes, we've got the gold bits, the black bits. I mean, they're all done. We've got an amazing screaming crotch face. We've got horrible stuff sticking out of the back. We finished this up with cuts, and I freehanded that symbol. It's a bit wonky, so I think I want to add stuff to kind of make it look like it's been more broken, but I'll figure that out. There's two things I want to do. One is on the sword. I want to make this look more magical. And to do so, I'm going to be using Turbo Dork Motherlode. This should give it a nice magical looking pearl color. If I can open these, they're always really annoying to open. Yeah, come on. I'm not that weak. Come on. There we go. I think. Nope. Yes? No? Maybe? There we go. Hey, I'm not that much of a disappointment to womankind. Now, usually for the Motherlode, you want to put it over a white. I think putting it over the silver will make it look like it's kind of sparkling on top, but still look metallic. To be honest, I can barely see a difference. So I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to try again. But while that is drying, we've got the other fun thing, which is blood effects. I want the parts where the body is the body parts are bursting out to be gory. You might be like, is this the elf blood or the demon blood? And it's probably both. I think this one, because it's coming out of the shoulder pad, is going to have the least amount of blood, but I do want to put some blood on her weapons, because they're not getting cleaned. Nice, good, gory blood effects. We're also going to put some on the claws and in the mouth. Okay, so looking at this, it looks like the Motherlode didn't really do anything. So we're going to shake it up more and try again. Yep, there we go. Yeah, so now it's got all those little, like, kind of magical sparkles. Once that dries, I'm going to apply blood. Then it's on to applying the grass and basing it, and it's all done. So I'll see you guys in the reveal. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. I had so much fun with this project. This is kind of the fastest I have bashed, painted, and edited a video before. So I'm really excited, and I really want to, for 2026, try and keep up this more excited and proactive pace. So I hope you all enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the new year.